Well, hello, guys. We are in the house with a fellow author. And if you watch the mini trailer, it says 2-time, but she's actually a 3-time. And I'm excited to share about not only her books, but the message God's put on her heart and the movement that she is creating globally, specifically around one of my favorite things that she doesn't know this yet. So I'm excited for us to just geek out for a moment on postcards. Hope, I am so grateful to have you on the show today.
Oh my gosh, Tamra, this is so exciting. The little trailer, I've never had anyone do that. That's so cool.
I love it. It's just like a blessing. And instead of me having to do a bio rap sheet rundown, we're here to glorify God. But yes, we've done some cool things in his name. And I love people to know about it.
So cool. I am so excited to be here. I did not know postcards was one of your favorite things. I've got to send you one.
Yeah. So tell me about the message of a postcard, what it meant to you and how it became this really like radical sensation pretty quickly. I kind of think it's kind of like caught you off guard in the expeditious thing that the Lord does, but he moves quickly as we were talking about offline.
I know. Tamra, it has been nuts. So today I was actually talking to one of my board members on the phone before this podcast, and we're talking kind of like what's the next step, and we're like, this has only been a year, like right at a year. So, anyways, okay, this is the long story short. I worked corporate America. I worked for Walmart for about 6 years. I live in Bentonville still, their headquarters, the home of Walmart. And I did a quick stint after I had my daughter with YouVersion, the Bible app. And it was kind of crazy. So I really felt like the Lord was calling me just to stay at home and focus full time on my daughter. And no joke, during her nap time, I accidentally started a global movement like 2 months after I quit. And it was kind of, it was crazy because here I am in this place where, I used to make, I made 6 figures plus some, right? And it was just crazy. Like, the Lord had really blessed us financially, but now here I am in this place where I post this reel with Dayspring cards. I have a great relationship with them. They're also local, like 30 minutes from me in Silence. So they had given me a pack of cards and I just recorded myself and I was like, oh, that I have some free time during her naps. I could write a few cards thinking 40 people would sign up. And I legitimately put my phone down and I remember picking it back up and it has 100,000 views. And then it's going up and up and up. And I think it was within a week, we had 4,000 people sign up for a free, well, it was going to be a card turned into postcard because it was cheaper, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Yep. Don't have the extra handle. Yep.
Yes. And then, long story short, now I just did a Q1 report and a recap from all of this last year. We have sent out over 24,850 postcards in 1 year, which is literally handing a postcard to every single person in Auburn, Alabama, or Madison Square Garden sold out.
I love that connection.
Yes, but I'm to your point, what you were saying, for me, I knew with the last book that came out, not really the one where we'll probably talk on this one too, but I had a book called Purposes that Pause that really hit me in a pivotal moment in my life where really I started realizing there was more to life than just more status, more money, climbing, striving, all of that. And so I feel like these postcards are a tangible reminder of your purpose not pausing, because the one thing I hear with these cards every single time it doesn't fail is, man, God was right on time. And so with that, it really, funnels into just the movement's name, which is the Purpose Isn't Pause movement. And it's just this notion that your purpose doesn't pause and that God is just always up to something and he's right on time. And so anyways, these are tangible things people can hold.
Such a critical medicine.
Yes. So anyways, that is the postcard story.
So just let me first off geek out on the postcards, like I said that I was going to.
Yeah, I gotta hear.
For some reason, I have always been really attracted to postcards, and I found this bound book that you can pull out postcards one by one and mail them out, which you have to do this as a thing to put all your postcards together, and then people can buy it and mail postcards. but it like every time I went to go pull one out, I was like, no, I like that one for me. I want to keep that one for me. They became frameable and I just loved all the frames. It was actually a part of where my color palette was derived from. Ooh, look, celebration on the
Look,
screen.
celebrate. Yeah.
But I loved it so much because it's like life in your mailbox. People say happy mail and they assume that happy mail has to have like, you know, a big valuation to it, right? Like it has to be a trinket or has to be something. But honestly, people just love words. It's the whole reason the word of God can illuminate your soul. And if you open it and you read it for yourself, it's enough. And so I just think that postcards are such an element of treasure to people. It reminds them that you're thinking of them, even no matter how far you are. And then the postcard story continued that my other podcast called Girls Gone Holy, we started on a women's retreat where I just gathered these girls together because I was feeling kind of lifeless in my entrepreneurial journey of connection. And they had postcards hanging in the Airbnb of the Airbnb, like pictures of the Airbnb. So I took all of them and then I sent them out a year later to the girls who I ended up starting the podcast with. And it was just like, remember where it started. Like we had no idea what God was doing. We didn't intend to start a podcast, but this is the purpose doesn't pause. Like I was trying to pause. I was literally like, I need a break, time out from entrepreneurship. And God was like, yeah, sure, you can bring all of those women together, but purpose doesn't pause, which is her podcast. You guys got to go check it out. And he revealed more in that time. So I think this is just such a powerful message for right now, which is also another element of your other book. Talk to us about the newest book that's out and why now, even in the midst of, guys, she's pregnant. She's got a baby. I don't even know if you can call her a toddler yet.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of a move. She's got this global movement happening in the midst of a move. And she still has stamina and life and joy. Talk to us about how you were able to write another book.
Oh my gosh. So it's actually so crazy. So this book really started when I was still at YouVersion. And I'd had this message at first on like fear. I was like, I'm going to write on fear. And I drove back and forth with working for YouVersion. I was remote. I was driving back and forth almost like every week to Oklahoma City to be with the team. That's where the team's headquartered.
Okay.
And so I had like a 3-hour drive. I'd leave at like 5 a.m. I would get this huge like 7 brew coffee, which started here and now's all over. So I'm like, okay, some of your audience probably know what I'm talking about. I get the large and I would just like turn on worship music and just pray. But during this time, I was specifically really praying about this book because I had a deadline coming up and we hadn't really landed on the subject. So there was like kind of some wiggle room. Purpose doesn't pause, it just come out and all of that. And so at first I was like, okay, I'm going to write about fear because I just like, you know, that's something. And then the more I prayed about it, Tamra, the Lord was like, just nudged me through his spirit of like, no, it's not actually fear of doing the thing. It's fear of not doing the thing, Hope. Like that's what people right now are struggling with.
Good.
And I didn't even know, Tamra, that I was just a few, weeks away from leaving my job, which YouVersion was always my dream job. I was like, that if I get that and like we're in a place financially and all these things we can do that's where I'm going to stay. Anyways, the Lord always does the crazy things.
But he gave you your heart's desire at the time, right? Like that's the cool thing. It's not void. He gave you and then he revealed more.
He revealed more. He revealed more. And so, Tamra, it's crazy. So I start writing this message on the fear of missing out, not knowing that I'm about to quit my job, not knowing that like my brand new Yukon's about to be for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I actually still drive my husband's truck. Not knowing, even after the book, like that we're downsizing homes and, downgrading, like we're moving to this place that's much cheaper than the home we're in now. And like just what God was going to call us to. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Tamra, it's so crazy because I scrapped the book, like the fear piece and then went to the fear of missing out. And it was during that time that literally, I feel like this book is almost just like a personal testimony because it was just like chapter by chapter. Yeah. I was just sharing the transition and the transformation. The Lord was taking the girl who was sold out, was supposed to be an executive someday, the largest company in the world, Walmart, to being a stay-at-home mom behind the scenes, and getting to steward a movement where honestly it requires me to really do nothing so that he can move in the way that he can move. Like it's so yes, that is the story. And we were kind of trying to land on a title. And at first, the original title that came to mind was The Present is the Present, because I think so often we miss like this present moment. But then the David C. Cook team came back with Now Over Next. And I'm like, that is so beautiful, because I think in this world, especially in Western, culture with the United States, there's so much focus on what are you doing next? What are you doing next? And there was always so much pressure. And now just like hitting 30, I'm realizing it's like, I just trust that God's got whatever is next coming. And I don't want to miss now. I don't want to miss like potentially my last pregnancy. I don't want to miss my little girl being 2. I don't want to miss, what God's doing and pruning in the midst of moving and taking us from this one place that felt like a dream home to this place that feels like freedom. I don't want to miss
praise God for that.
now. And so anyways, that's a message. And I feel like really for the first time, I've had a whole bunch of friends like, man, God's really requiring you to like, not just live, like not just write this book, but like really live it out. And I haven't really felt called to promote it, which is interesting. And it's just, I feel like it's more so just the Lord continuing to teach me this message even after it's been released.
Oh my gosh, girl. Every book that I've published, I feel that way. I will literally be writing it, thinking for all these other people, like hoping for all these other people, knowing this is the message for these people. And then God's like, and it's the message for you. And I then am publishing the book, living out the very thing that I thought I was going to do for other people. Every book. And I've actually heard a lot of other authors, Lisa TerKeurst talks about this all the time.
Yeah.
God gives her the idea so that you've simmered, so that you've sought the Lord even before the thing transpires. And so what a beautiful testimony that like he even calls us into him in the purpose when we're like, we want to give up. We're done. We don't want to do this anymore. And he's like, but remember what you wrote. Remember, you're going to be a woman of your word. Remember, I'm going to carry you through. And so there's so much excitement around that. And interestingly, another overlap here, Hope, is I'm about to share on a TEDx stage in a couple of weeks. And the theme is turning no into now.
Wow, I love that.
There's kind of this overlap of like, it's about the now. And for so long, especially as women, it's a women's event specifically, is women have been told no. But women even were told no, you can't be the executive. And then we were told, no, you can't stay at home with your kids. And so you've got to live this dichotomy of both truths. And both of them are real and both of them are of God, but he's put you into this new place. And I just think that there's so much wisdom that you're retaining in this season and the wellspring that that's going to give people as you continue to say yes.
Oh my gosh, no, that means the world. And it's crazy the overlap. I feel like the Lord is always so kind to do these divine connections where you're like, here, I'm giving you people that will rally around you and like get it. And it's been humbling for sure. And there's been moments that I'm like, man, I miss that corporate life. And then I'm reminded of like, no, like, I don't want to miss this, like I can always do that later. But right now, like Remy needs me, she's 2. I'm going to be at home with both of my babies. Like the time is for that right now. And I just have to like trust that the rest will come later.
Yeah. And can you talk about that a little bit more, Hope? Because the people that listen to this podcast generally are people who have high capacities. They're doing and moving and creating and building and designing. And it's like kingdom work, it's ministry. And yet there can feel like this tension of like not wanting to miss it, being in the now, and processing out the fact that like, God is doing a work in us, right? He's constantly wanting to do a work in us. So can you talk to us about how even in the purpose, not pausing, you kind of taking a shift in what you imagined your plan, right? They say you make plans and God laughs. What has that been like? Where do you go in the wrestle? How do you talk to the Lord? And what is his response like in those tender moments?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And it's funny because I do feel like I wrestle with this often. Like, I'll be honest, I have a hard time being a stay-at-home mom. I really do. Yeah. I love working. I mean, I was good at it, right? Like that was like my jam. Like it came natural. It didn't bother me putting in all those hours. and like having to slow down, and like Remy's favorite thing to say to me is, Mama, sit. And I'm like, I don't want to sit. I do not want to sit.
That's so
Stop.
classic.
Like this morning, we're trying to get out the door. She got this little bunny for Easter that like hops. She wanted to go upstairs, put it in her toy kitchen because it like it can see through. So it's kind of smart. It's almost like it's at a pet store. And she's like, Mama, sit. And when she just wants me to watch this rabbit hop inside this kitchen. And I'm like, Remy, you have to go. We have to go. You've got to go to school. Anyways, but with all that being said, I feel like when I'm wrestling with the Lord through all of this, it's like he will just slow me down and show me a moment where he is like so there, and he's like so there for me. And I think too, like God calls us to hard things. Like the easy thing for me right now would be to like just, I mean, there's been days I'm like, I'm going to put her back in daycare. And also let me do a caveat here. If you are a working mom, I truly believe that's where God has you. Like when I was at YouVersion, I worked the first year of her life. I truly believe like, I mean, I didn't feel guilty about daycare because I truly believe that's where God had me. So please know, I may next year, the Lord may call me back into corporate America or wherever. And like, I'll have to trust that if I put my babies back in a different care, like that's where the Lord has me. So, but anyways, now, specifically here, he has me here. But I think we're going to wrestle regardless. Like I remember being a working mom and I would wrestle with dropping Remy at daycare. I mean, I think there's always a wrestle no matter what. Like there's never going to be this moment that's just like perfect and you have it all. But yeah, I think it's the key thing for me is that I feel like the Lord just meets me, and it's like it's either some kind of God wink, and it's always small. It's never like this huge peak or this moment that I scream from the mountaintops, but it was even like with that, the movement that started, you know, leaving my job and feeling very uncertain the night before I put in my 2-week notice when I was really unsure of it. I had actually applied for the nonprofit status for purposes of pause, not knowing what it was going to be, but I wanted to be ready, you know, like to the women here that are high capacity and builders, you know, you want to have everything ready for it to go and to go fast.
Good.
So the night before, it came back 6 months early, y'all. And I was like, okay, that is just God. And then it was like, you know, 2 months later that the movement all started. And I'm like, okay, now I know what this movement is supposed to be. It's postcards. And I literally thought it was going to be homes for women in human trafficking. But I think, like very different. And to your point with the postcard booklets earlier, I'm launching a for-profit arm of the business called Hope Can Change the World. And it is postcard packs. And my dream with postcard packs is getting it in retailers and using that money to potentially be able to, through the small things, do something really, really big, like have a house for human trafficking survivors. So anyways, I think like through all of this, the Lord, though, in the wrestle, he just reminds me it's the small things. It's the one step now. It's just trusting, like it was like applying for the nonprofit, having it ready, and then him showing me what it was even supposed to be. But it doesn't mean the wrestle isn't hard, because I've definitely had days that I'm like, I need a break. I just want to go be productive. Like it's my own, definition of
your usual version of productivity. Where God is like,
you're watch her and let me work.
I get that. I totally get that. I was home with my kids for 3 years before I started building this, and coming from, like I said, a decade of entrepreneurship prior to that, portions of that literally felt like nails going down a chalkboard, where I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot listen to this baby song one more time. I cannot watch this show anymore. I don't want to eat your leftover half-bitten food anymore, but that's what I keep finding myself eating as my favorite snack of the day. And so I get all that, but then it's like immediately afterwards, Hope, they're in school, you're blazing, things are happening, and you're like, oh man, I missed that. And so it's like we can never have exactly what we want unless we're literally pursuing Jesus. And when we pursue Jesus, he reminds us that what we have right now is the biggest blessing that we could have.
Absolutely.
And so it's like staying in that present space. And so I'm so glad that you're a fellow advocate of that. I cannot wait to see the movement continue to transpire, not only through the postcards, but what that's going to lead to. The fact that you even have vision for that. I want people to harness that as they're listening to this, and to know that like where you are right now, the one small step today is going to lead to the things that are going to transpire tomorrow. They're surely, just like Hope, not going to look the way that you thought they were going to look, but eventually they're going to take root in a really cool way. And so just kudos to you for saying yes, for taking that leap of faith. Thank God for giving you the God winks through the process. And I hope that people look to that too. Like, what's my God wink today? What's my God wink right
I love
now?
that.
And I
Yeah.
think for you, it was when she said, "Mommy, sit." And
I
just
know. I think
sit. Because
so.
man, my
Just
kids challenge me every day. And I'm like,
oh, I
oh,
know.
I should do that.
I'm like, we don't have time to sit, but we do. We
But
do. And
we
it's
do.
carving out that time, not to just sit, like at
Yeah.
her feet, but to sit at the feet of Jesus.
Mm,
And
there it
man,
is.
I think, Tamara, this has been so good. And the last thing I'll just like kind of say is we wouldn't even be talking today had I not started a clay earring business back in 2019. Like I think that's why my dreams of, okay, these postcards can lead to these human trafficking purposes and pause places is because I've seen him take a clay earring business, turn it into a first book deal. And then I also, at that very first book deal, took a picture holding my first book with postcards in the background of where I had studied abroad, not even knowing what was going to come to
Oh
fruition. It's
gosh.
crazy. And I share
So
that because I know that's not like, yes, that story is unique to me, but that the theme of that story is not unique. Like that is what God
good.
does. So I just want to challenge a listener,
Praise
like you're doing
God.
something that feels really small, but you have this really big dream. Like, do not be surprised at how God's going to use that small thing to like elevate you and create a bridge to that really big thing. So
That's so exciting. I get like so giddy about that. And I want people to like trace those steps more often so that they can then share it out like this. Because, man, whether you're so far along or you're just getting started or you're trying to figure out, am I even doing anything with my life in this moment? I'm searching for purpose. These are the types
right.
of testimonies that have to be shared so that people feel that sense of energy to say, okay, she can do it. He can do it. I can too. Right. Like,
Yeah.
let's do this together. And ultimately, it's all meant to glorify God. And that's what you're doing. So I'm just grateful to know you. You guys have to not only get a hold of her books, you've got to get some postcards. So go to
Yes.
Hope Regan Harris at Instagram. Also, go listen to Purpose Doesn't Pause podcast. You might hear a familiar voice on there eventually.
Coming
And the
soon.
knowledge point that hope can change the world. So you're going to see all of this on Instagram, Hope. I am so grateful you're here today. Is there any final words?
Oh my gosh. Okay. The last thing that I felt like the Lord just pressed on my heart is I felt like for so long when I did feel like my purpose paused, I was searching everywhere except at my feet, everywhere except where God had me placed in that day. And so if today you're feeling confused or you're feeling stuck, I would just encourage you to lean in and ask the Lord to highlight like why he's placed you where you are. And like, it might really feel small. I promise most of the time, the stuff that I do feels really, really small, but just trust that like God is multiplying it and God does not do addition, subtraction. He multiplies and that it is so much bigger. Like your purpose really is wherever your feet are, whether that's you sitting on your couch, resting on a Sunday, or whether you sitting down at your little girl's feet or you going through the Chick-fil-A drive-through line and just like commenting and saying that the girl's hair is really pretty that's taking your order. Like it's just, you have no clue what he's going to do to use that. And so anyways, your
I
purpose
love
is
it.
right where you are and you don't have to search elsewhere for it.
Praise God. Hope you're such a gem. I'm so glad to be connected, and I can't wait to see
Thank
the more
you.
that's coming, both your house, your babies, all the things.
Yes.
You are such
Yes.
a
Thank
movement
you.
maker. Love
This
you,
was so
friend.
good. Love you.
Be blessed.